I want to specifically, for a minute, General Schwartz, go to the situation at Dover, and I don't want to dwell on how hard this has to be for you and the leadership at the Air Force. No one needs to convince me that you want to get this right at Dover. I'll tell you what I do want to bring to your attention, and I've done so with a letter today, and that is the finding of the Office of Special Counsel. And so people understand what the Office of Special Counsel is. It's an investigatory and prosecution-oriented agency whose primary responsibility under our law is to be independent of all of the agencies and protect whistleblowers. And what I am concerned about is their investigation into what the Air Force did in response to the whistleblowers. And specifically the fact that the IG of the Air Force, they failed to admit wrongdoing in their report. And while I understand people have been moved around as a result of the problems that have occurred because of the mishandling of the sacred remains of the fallen, I'm not sure that they have been held as accountable, for example, as what we saw happen at Arlington in connection with that heartbreaking incompetence. And what I want to make sure is that there is an independent investigation as to whether or not the IG shaded it a little bit because everyone was feeling protective of the institution for all the right reasons. The vast majority of people who serve at Dover and who do this work, I'm sure, do it with a heavy heart, but with a passion for getting it right. But when we have a circumstance like this arise, I want to make sure that the Inspector Generals are not so busy looking after the institution that they fail to point out wrongdoing, which was not ever acknowledged, and that there is accountability for the people involved. And so I want you to address the Special Counsel's report as it relates to the Air Force investigation.
Senator McCaskill, there clearly were unacceptable mistakes made. Whether they constitute wrongdoing is another matter entirely. And when you look at a situation like this, you look at the facts of the case, as an attorney might say. You look at the context in which the event or the mistakes occurred. And you also consider the demands that are placed on individuals and organizations. With respect to accountability, we also had an obligation to ensure that the statutory requirements for due process were followed. We did that precisely. I can only speak for the case of the uniformed officer, but the uniformed officer received a letter of reprimand. We established an unfavorable information file. We removed him from the command list, and his anticipated job as a group commander at Shaw Air Force Base was redlined. This is not a trivial sanction.
Well, I understand that's not a trivial sanction, but I'm worried that there was a conclusion that there was not an obligation to notify the families in these instances, and obviously this deals with more than uniformed personnel, and obviously the Secretary of the Air Force is also copied on the letter that I sent today calling for this independent investigation. What happened at Arlington, nobody was intentionally mismarking graves. They were mistakes too. And I just want to make sure that we have really clear eyes while we have full hearts about the right aggressive need for investigations by Inspector Generals in circumstances like this. And thank you very much, and thank all of you for being here today.